Hello and welcome, I'm SimUK, and today we're going to attempt to make the first ever Sim Shack podcast. For support, I have with me my good friend, Wolsey. Hello, Wolsey.
Hi, everybody.
Lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Mark
The
it.
Sim Shack, for those of you who don't know, is my self-built, dedicated place for me to enjoy simulation and to share it with all of you out there. As this podcast grows, and hopefully it will, and evolves as well, we want to invite in other guests to the Sim Shack, fellow YouTubers, software developers, and we'll discuss with them various gaming topics, such as
The chaos of algorithm.
the chaos of algorithm, the future of gaming, whole host of possible discussions we can have. So if this is something you think that you might be interested in, then grab yourself a coffee, sit back, relax, and we'll
And get a friend with you, too.
Get a friend, yeah. We'll sit back and try and attempt to make the first ever podcast in the Sim Shack.
In the Sim Shack, we'll talk about it all. From gaming's rich past to the future's call. Simulators world, graphics so bright. Join us each week under neon lights. We'll chat with the best creators of art. Yeah, in the world of gaming, we each play a part. So tune in
For our
with
first
us
ever
next
podcast, we ought to
night.
probably introduce ourselves a little bit. So Wolsey, would you like to
Yeah.
start? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I'm actually Ozzy. I'm an old gamer. I do play games for a long time. I've been working also into cinematography, and I've been doing voiceovers for certain other things. I love gaming because it's been a part of the family. Everybody here has got a computer. We all play games. And I did my channel just because everybody told me I should. And I enjoy playing games. So that's why I started mine. I'm a big fan of simulator more than the FPS. I used to be FPS. It's not because and I don't know it's because I'm old, but I love the satisfaction of doing a simulator game where you pile up stuff and actually going in the right way, or in total chaos and you have to redo everything over and over again. But yeah, and I'm actually extremely excited to be part of that podcast.
Likewise, yeah. Something. We actually started talking about doing this about a year ago, didn't we?
Yes.
And then last year was
Chaos.
for both of us, really. So we've kind of picked up the mantle again a year later, almost to the day. And yeah,
When we say chaos, we're saying like my office got flooded. So we had to
It's
redo everything.
amazing the similarities we have, because I've just realised that I used to have that shelf that you have in the corner, or something very similar to
Did
that.
you?
And
Nice.
also the Sim Shack got flooded at one point as well. So yeah, we have so many similarities. We'll find all these out as these episodes continue. So let me tell you just a little brief bit about myself. I'm 47
Yes,
years
please.
old, father of 3. I have a bachelor's degree in computing and software development. And my primary areas of expertise when I was a software developer were systems analysis and database management, which is quite boring. To be fair, I spent most of my time fixing, tweaking, and managing websites, software applications for companies like PlayStation, Xbox, LG, Samsung, that sort of thing. But my passion, as I said, and my desire is to develop my own simulators. And that's something I really want to start working on this year alongside the podcast and trying to grow SimUK, the channel, or the brand, or whatever you want to call it. So watch this space, guys. There's a lot could be coming your way, especially this podcast, which, as Wolsey said, I am very excited about. I've always wanted to do something like this. So I'm very grateful to you for joining me to give me the confidence to go ahead and start this.
Pleasure all mine.
Wolsey, can you remember
Yes, sir.
back to when we first met? It's a couple of years ago now, isn't it?
We met on I don't know if it was Fast Food Simulator or was it Ships at Sea. I think it was Ship at Sea.
I think it was Ships at Sea, yeah.
Yeah, and
so-
I was trying to find some collaboration with people. We did a collaboration video. That was actually the first one we got. You put it on your channel. I didn't put on mine. And from there, we always kept talking. You helped me with also logos and also ideas of thumbnails
Yeah, absolutely.
and so on.
We've spoken many times, sharing constructive criticism and feedback with each other for both of our channels, trying to make this crazy world of content creation something of a success, I guess. And that collaboration video, I think, was, if I remember rightly, was the first to make $1 million on ships at sea. Was that it?
Yes, and I tried to get my boat inside of the ducks or something. I was trying to actually go under the duck. It's like I can fit in there if I just cross my head, and then I was stuck for a while.
It was, in hindsight, it was a huge challenge. We should have maybe dulled it down a tad. But just on that subject, before we move on, who won that competition?
What was the next question? I don't remember.
I suppose we better.
It was
move
actually
on.
you. You did.
I don't remember. It could have been a draw for all I recall. We should revisit that game sometime. I did enjoy playing that.
We definitely should.
Haven't played it for ages, and they've had loads of a whole year's worth of content.
New
updates.
boats.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to ask you. I did write down a couple of questions. I hope that's okay. One of the things I wanted to ask, or I wanted to talk about, was what is the first game you ever remember playing?
Oh my God. As weird as it sound, I'm old. I'm 48. We're around the same age. But I remember Hero Quest. Did you ever play that game?
Hero Quest. Remind me what Hero Quest was, please.
Hero Quest was a really old game. You had to bring your floppy disk, and you were typing what was the hero doing. So go north, go south, open the gate, go inside, catch the chicken. You had to say word by word. It was taking so long, and I was getting irritated, but I still keep staying there.
So it's all
that was one of
text-based exploration.
It was text-based and
Yeah.
really more. I think it was 2 bytes, character moving and everything. And then they actually got better models. I think I had like the Hero Quest 1 or 2 that I played. And the
That
thing
does
is,
ring a
my
bell.
family all worked for IBM. So my mother was actually at IBM, my father was at IBM and everything. And they had hands-on on games like that.
Wow.
So even at the younger age, I was in the kind of secret of gaming, if you know what I mean. And Hero Quest was one that they actually went ahead and put it public, and it catch on really quick. And when they put the Hero Quest 2, that's when all the game like Dooms and everything actually came out. So nobody wanted to go ahead and type action. They wanted to go move left and right and everything with joysticks, right?
Wow.
But yeah,
Wow.
it was all in bat base. You remember the .bat base? You could actually go
Yes.
ahead and do your own codings. So it was actually the keywords that was actually prompting a bat command to go ahead and put the image moving.
That's fantastic. That's excellent.
That's old.
If I were to go back and try and remember what the first game I ever played was, and I have given this some thought, it's one of two. I cannot remember which happened first. It's either Space Invaders. You must know that game. I think everybody knows that game. And that would have been on a pub table. It's like a massive coffee table with a screen built into the top. And one player would sit on one side and one player would sit on the other side. And I think it was about 20 pence a go. So whilst my parents were enjoying a couple of pints or whatever, that's what I was doing, was on there playing that. And if it wasn't that, then it was a game, I think some people refer to it as Pong, or some people call it Tennis for Two. And I remember this distinctly. I went to my friend's house, Stephen Jett, who lived on the same street as me, about 20 doors down, and he was setting this thing up. And I'd never seen, and this is back in early 80s, I'd never seen anything like this. It was like a square device with 2 controllers attached to it. And we played Pong or tennis or whatever you want to call it in his parents' bedroom on their TV. Back in the day, TVs were massive. Even if the screen was tiny, the actual telly was huge and it was really heavy. And that was a life-changing moment for me. That was pretty much the first time I'd ever seen or heard of gaming. And I have to say, I really liked it. It really resonated with me immediately.
Was it with the remote that had like the dialer on it?
I think it may have been. Yeah, it was. It certainly wasn't like a modern day joystick like you have in the background there. It was nothing like that.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like that. Yeah. No. I remember the good old. I thought it
Rotate to
was
move.
Cuticle or something, but yeah, it was actually kind of a dial onto a like the remote.
Excuse me 1 second. I'm just gonna quickly grab a drink.
I got mine. While you guys are waiting, I'll drink my water. We don't just do podcasts; we do ASMR.
It's a good opportunity to point out that we're not currently the podcast is not currently being sponsored by anybody. So if you would like
Exactly.
to see your sponsorship entered round about here, just let us know. Give us a ping on the old
Spot right there.
email. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can we
Waste of
can
drink
promote the
mouse.
hell out of anything.
Today's sponsor is going to be drinkable. Yes, drinkable. Call us now. I'm
Right.
set on drink. Like this is not my first podcast, as you can see. I want to go back to the game and the first game. Did you ever play Duke Nukem or Doom?
I did, but I think I only got access to those quite late after they came out, when everyone had already finished
Because
playing them.
we used to have those floppy disks that you had to get like at least 10 or 15 of them. Then you have to go ahead and we were 3 friends who had access to those 10 floppy disk, and we were sharing to each other's. So during the week, it was like, you can have the 15, but hurry up, I want to play too. And then we were sharing, the 3 of us.
That's awesome.
I don't remember who was it was so much sharing before that I don't even remember who owned the game itself.
What was the first computer or console that you personally ever owned? Not your family, not your mum and dad, but your very own device. What was it?
It was actually a toaster, and I want to tell you why I call it
Toaster?
toaster. Because in reality, it was actually leftover parts from IBM, and they were always like, okay, there's like a ruffle, whatever you want to call it. And I won one of them, and they usually called it a toaster because instead of having like a tower like regularly, it was a server base box.
Okay, it's quite
So it
big.
was like way bigger that they called a toaster because since it's for a server, they overheat crazy really quick. So I had to put it next to a window because at one point it was overheating. And my own computer, I was using it for going to LAN party as well. But that thing was weighing a ton. And I didn't have a car that time. So I was going in the subway with a luggage thing to actually carry my computer. And the screen were big, as you were saying before. So I had like 2 or 3 big boxes. Then I was dropping it at the LAN party place and go back home, get a keyboard and the mouse, and then come back.
Wow.
So I had
How
to
old
do
were
2
you
trips
then?
every time.
How old were you then?
13, 14?
So that's when you got your very own, your personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool.
A lot of lawn mowing.
So would that have been regarded as a PC?
Yeah, it was a computer, fully computer.
Full computer.
You had the mouse and everything, and I was playing games that was actually kind of, as I said, like Hero Quest. I played Hero Quest on my parents' computer. Well, my mom, because parents was separated. But I was playing, I think, Duke Nukem and everything, and I was copying disc with that because it was really big. But yeah.
Oh yeah, because
I remember that.
you're based in Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
So it gets pretty cold up there.
Yeah.
And you needed to put it by the window to keep it cool. That's that's early age heat sink.
No, not to keep it cool, to
technology.
not overheat the room.
Oh, so it wasn't because I see. So it wasn't going to burn itself out.
So the
but it was
heat would
just
go
so
outside,
hot.
not stay inside. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, hence the toaster. It's like a heater, like a radiator almost.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. Okay, well, let me reciprocate.
What's your computer? Like the first one you had?
So I think it was about 10 years old. No, maybe about 8 years old. And out of nowhere, my dad walked in the house with a Commodore 64, a tape deck. I think it had a couple of controllers and this massive breeze block sized floppy disk thing. This is the 5¼ inch massive, great big floppy disks. Which you plugged into the back of the Commodore 64 keyboard type thing. bearing in mind my previous experience had been Pong, where you're just moving a square and bouncing a
Yeah.
ball. That's what computer games were to me. And the Commodore 64 felt so advanced in comparison to that.
I was about to say.
Because since playing that game at my friend's house, and we only played it once. I don't know why. Maybe he was borrowing it from someone, or I don't really understand why we only played it once. But I had played no computer games from that time to whenever this Commodore 64 turned up. So I was absolutely gobsmacked with all the games and how advanced everything was. And I remember distinctly a game called Dam Busters. And it was my first ever real simulator, I would guess.
Never heard of it.
It was hard. It was really hard. You had to fly. You've heard of the Dam Busters, the real Dam Busters, I assume. World War II. No? So it's a well-known British squadron that went to bomb the dams in Germany in World War II in order to flood the local areas and wipe out any sort of, weapons manufacturing or whatever that they were doing in that area. And it was, they had to fly 50 feet off the water level and release this bouncing bomb that would then bounce and spin backwards, roll down the dam,
Whoa.
and explode and make it all. It's one of the best films you'll ever watch. I'll hook you up with that at some point. But yeah, so in this game on this Commodore 64, we had to take off. We had to shoot down balloons, shoot down fighter planes, avoid searchlights. We had to navigate to the dam, manage all the engines. So if a fighter had shot one of the engines, you'd have to flip a switch and put the fire extinguishers on and stuff. And then when you got to the dam, if you got to the dam, you would turn on these two lights. Now, bearing in mind you're 50 feet off the floor, so any miscalculation and you're in the drink. But you have to line these two lights up, and when they touch, that is the perfect time to release the bomb.
Okay.
Now, I was only young at the time, but that, I think, having played that game for years, on and off, it took about an hour to get to the dam. This was pretty heavy stuff. And I only ever managed to bomb the dam once in the whole time that I played it. And I never managed to get all the way back and land the plane. I never actually completed the game completely. But that, I think, is what started my passion for simulation, was that game. I can remember it now. I can see every part of it in my mind's eye, so to speak. But yeah, that's where my love of simulators definitely started, was that game. And I'm also quite passionate and hugely respectful for people who gave their lives in World War I, World War II. And I think those people need to be respected. And simulator games, not games, but simulators that recreate those scenarios, so you can get a small taste of their heroism, I think that's what drives me. That's that I have such a huge amount of respect for those people, and just to recreate a scenario realistically in their honor is a massive buzz for me.
I've had here drinks, Carling Black Label.
Your best bet for a fuller flavour.
Carling Black Label.
All of that started on a little Commodore 64.
I'm not I'll do it, but I'm not a big fan. I feel that I'm not immersed enough. But then again, I have this really old joystick as a reminder. One of the games that I liked that was actually military was actually Battlefield 1942. Do you remember that game?
God, yes. The hours.
I was one of the best pilots out there as a meaty chopper.
Yeah, nice.
and that was crazy the stuff that I was able to do, and that was with that joystick right there. That's why I kept it. I was supposed to throw it out. I was like, no, I'm keeping it because memories and everything. But
Yeah.
I never found a game that was making me feel as immersive. But the technology is all there.
Mm.
But I think it's not a question of the graphic, but more how you play the game that brings the simulator back. Um, you said that having all those people and the honor of the people from war and everything, there's a lot of simulator where they're actually putting kind of a weird pitch into those kind of gameplay,
Yeah.
where there's how can I say? I think it's honorable what they did as well, but I feel that they should also put like certain more important than when your character is actually dying. I don't know if you know what I mean. What I don't like about simulator lately, except Arma Reforge, when your character is dying, it's starting at the other end of the map. What I'm saying is, at some point, I feel that more and more military simulator game
Yeah.
are just trying to put people just in action, right? But there's so much more in a simulator game, like making sure the vehicle is actually ready and apt to go into battle and so on.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
also a great simulator. That's what I like about Battlefield 1942. You don't only just got the plane, you had to be sure it was fueled. We had to be sure that the weapons were actually filled and everything,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
always came empty in the one I was playing.
Yeah.
And you had to check all that.
I think I agree with you. I think if I understand you correctly, I feel like the term simulator has been bastardized quite a bit, and there's lots of game sims or what I call simcades. They're like half
Mhm.
simulator, half game. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think there's a lot of that, and I'd like to see less of it because it's kind of diluting the simulator term. And I personally, I think simcade is a perfectly usable term to describe a game
yeah.
like that. And I'd like to see them differentiated more, I think would be good.
Mhm.
I'm very much simulation, realistic. I also like a bit of strategy in there, but you're more sort of an engineering simulator
Yeah.
angle, would you say?
Exactly. I love the logic, the math, and all the difficulty that you have to bring. Like as I was saying, Mind Mogul was actually something great. Where yes, you do have to get some mind, but you have to find a way to actually go ahead and bring them to a certain place to be able to go ahead and crush them. To go ahead and then afterwards meld them to bars, and then from the bars create something that you need for a quest. But I think that right now, my best aim for gaming simulator could be job related, where you actually start from nothing and build up. Could be from going into a mine, making a shop, or selling product. All that is actually something that I love to play. Yes.
Yeah, because we're starting to move into the territory of new games, I guess. So, what do you feel the difference between games of old when we were young and games now? What do you think's what's different there? What's evolved over time, and do you think it's a good direction that we're heading in?
We evolve in a graphic way.
Oh,
I have to admit, the
massively.
videos are beautiful. It's beautiful to see. It brings the memory of your computer really well. Um, but I feel that some of the time people are rushing to get games to out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
What I mean by that, I feel the word that I want to look for is really incomplete sometimes. Um, Before we had games where we spend weeks, months, years maybe to trying to finish one game. Now there's certain games that are coming out that we can actually almost finish really, really quick. Um, I don't know if it's a balance also of the resource or whatever, but I feel like also in the new games, but I feel that those games lately are really interesting, but also sometimes way too competitive. So we kind of lose your fun into the game, like because you get to a point where you don't stand a chance, right? Before in the old time we had some levels, like some certain rank that you could go. My thought is really about like CS:GO. There's certain level or certain ranking that you can go into a gameplay. Like you can go into a match, but it's going to be the people that are into your level.
yeah.
I think games needs to implement more of that
So a
because
fair
sometimes we
challenge,
go
a
in,
fair challenge.
yeah, exactly, fair challenge. There's a lot of hackers, we know about that.
Yeah,
However, when you see like great players, I'm talking about we have like Ninja, we have Shroud and everything. If I go PvP against them, I can't do it. Like nobody can, in
yeah,
my point of view. They're really good. It's their job. But as an old guy that's doing sim and I just want to go ahead and pew pew a little bit, Do you see what I mean? Like
You
it
want to have
feels
fun
like
and enjoy
we're
the experience, not go and get your ass handed to you every single time.
exactly. So
Yeah,
I feel that right now, from before to now, I feel more isolated, meaning that I have to follow my game genre and be quiet and follow that genre only. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. In comparison to games now, I know you were saying that they're brutal, but they were brutal in a different way. So games of old were
Hmm.
just bloody hard. They were designed
Yeah.
to kill you. You had to put in time and effort and energy to learn the systems to even get anywhere, let alone completing the game. These days, things seem to be kind of almost handed to people on a plate. Like you say, you're playing FPS games. It used to frustrate me when I'd run into a room against an enemy and I'd be on form, a random bit of form, and I take down 5, 8 people. But then somebody spawns behind me immediately and kills me. Things like that never happened back in the day. I mean, there was no multiplayer really in the early days. Then you had co-op on the same screen on the same computer, but this online
Hmm.
multiplayer thing that's totally changed that in itself. I mean, you were saying graphics earlier. What's the Microsoft founder's name? His name escapes me. But he said,
Um,
we all know
we're gonna
who he
put it in the
is.
screen here,
Yeah,
people. Don't
we all
worry.
know who he is. He said many years ago, 128K is the most amount of memory anyone is ever going to need. I mean that, and
Mhm.
he was leading the charge back in the day. No one had any idea how much the graphics and the audio and the performance and the online gameplay was going to grow. It's just phenomenal. Looking back
Mhm.
then, when I was sat on my little Commodore 64, and the FPS was like, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe even 2 frames per second. The graphics were clunky. We didn't have joysticks like everyone has today. It's just, it is a totally different time. But one thing I think hasn't evolved, I think maybe has curbed and turned against itself, is back then, the only people who were making games were other gamers. So they were
Mhm.
trying to make the best game they could. There were no updates, no DLCs, no uh, um, what do they call them? Where you pay and you rip it open and
Pay to win, yeah.
yeah. None of that stuff existed. It was just gamers making games for other gamers. And I
There
think,
was a passion into it that's
yeah,
different than today. Today it's not a passion, it's like how much money am I gonna get
yeah,
into this?
it's all about the money men, isn't it? It's all been driven from
Mhm.
top down. The bureaucrats have got involved, and the developers are working for them. But 2025, and I saw it a little bit in 2024. There's an awful lot of indie companies coming back. Very small game
Yeah.
developers making some wonderful games. So
Mhm. Definitely.
so I'm excited. I'm excited for 2026. I think we've turned a corner a little bit.
Exactly. And the thing is, I realize also games are a little bit more that are coming lately are a little bit more reachable. What I mean by that is maybe a little bit more everybody can play it, right? What I'm there's
Designed
certain
for
games, for
everyone.
example, yeah, designer is actually really easier and everything. As well as me, when you're a YouTuber, you have a lot of people saying, "Hey, play this game, play this game." It's like, and somebody told me I should try to play Car Mechanics
Yeah.
2025.
Mhm.
I said, "There's no way in hell I'm going to play that. I'm going to put a bumper inside of the engine. There's no way I'm playing that." Um, I like to actually go ahead and play a car game where I'm going to be, rebuilding a car, but not as deep, right? So for me, Car Simulator 2005, for me, it's not reachable, but for other people, it's going to be reachable. I remember the old time there was a game called Hot Rod. I don't know if you ever played that. It's actually a game where your character was reading a paper, then seeing a car for sale, bring it here. There was highlight of colors that would needed to be changed. Then you go ahead and do some work, and then you can get the parts. There's a couple of games that looks like that. I didn't find the right one that was actually really putting me into. But right now, the thing is, gamer has a feel into it, and that little car mechanic game that I'm saying is also that sometimes I feel that we don't have the trigger correctly into the gaming that we're doing, and we're losing a little bit more of the interest of what the developer was doing. And I feel that's also really important that we need to take a look at when game devs are actually starting to do that. Because in reality, the gamer is looking for something that's going to actually hold him on the screen for a longer time, not necessarily in one shot, but I mean, like, can have like more gameplay and so on, right? I believe that there should be games where there's like massive competitive. Like, I don't want to be at the Special Olympic where everybody's going to be the first place in a car simulator game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There is game where you need to have the skill of the pilot of the driver in a car.
Yeah.
You have to be first place and so on because of your skill and how you know cars and everything. But in today's game, especially on the big one, there's no evolution into it.
Yeah.
It's just like go out there, kill everybody, come back.
Not a lot of depth. Not a lot.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of depth, and there's an awful lot of on-screen, flashy. What do they call it? Endorphins. You know, oh, well done, you did this.
Yeah.
There's 1,000,000 points for whatever. There's a lot of that going on. Yeah, I agree with
You
you.
farted. Here's 1,000,000 points. Yeah,
do agree
it's
with you.
crazy.
Two games. You remind me. Two games, but actually my two favorite games, growing up, were Jeff Cramman's Formula One Grand Prix. I don't know if you ever remember playing that.
No.
Formula One's not really that popular in America and Canada and that. Although there is a Canadian Grand Prix that's
Yeah, there's
yeah.
actually close to where I live.
So this was I'd upgraded at this time. I was a teenager at this point, and I had an Amiga 600. My God, I love that thing to bits. If my mother hadn't have sold it, I'd still have it now. But I was using an aeroplane yoke
eBay.
as a steering wheel. Yeah, eBay. I know. I had a sneaky little look earlier, actually, when I was preparing my thoughts on these questions. But I had this yoke, which was for an aeroplane, obviously. But at that point, I was only 12, 13, maybe. I didn't know that that's what that was, and I just thought it was a weird steering wheel. So I used it as a steering wheel for that game. Pushing forward to dive the plane was accelerate. Pulling back towards myself was brake. I think I reversed that eventually because I kept pulling it off the desk because it was only held on by these little, probably like your joystick there, little sucker things on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then the other game I played, again on the Amiga 600, was B-17 Flying Fortress, which could very, very well have used that yoke, but I played on keyboard and mouse. But yeah, those games, I mean, they were, I wouldn't say they necessarily had a ranking system, but certainly B-17 Flying Fortress, you would start off as just a rookie, and you wouldn't be expected to do everything right the first time. And as you grew and evolved, and your crew survived and grew and evolved, you would get upgrades. So in terms of depth, I think games back then were all about depth. You know, because again, they were still being developed by developers, by gamers rather. And I think I agree with you. I think we've lost that somewhat. Games are now chucked out, very thin, very wide, very similar in a lot of ways. There's a lot of games that come out that look very similar, play very similar. They just have a different title and a different topic, different location. Yeah. I like to see a game where, like you said, you start from nothing. You say, well, okay, I've bought this bit of land. It's my land. I've got some trees on it. Let's cut the trees down. Sell some wood to make some money to build the house, to, collaborate with other players in the server or whatever, or AI players, and build up an infrastructure together by being independent and doing your own thing,
Like do its own market or its own Echo Cell or whatever. There's the game Echo that does that actually, but I don't know. I have a hard time to get into the game. That's the other thing. Sometimes we have a game that we say, like your example, like I want to be playing a game where everybody's going to be into that gameplay, and everybody's going to be doing their own thing. You have a little plot of land where you cut your trees and do whatever you want. But then somebody say, "Oh, that's exactly Echo. Go ahead and play the game." But when you get into the game, you just can't play it. You're just like, I can't. It doesn't suit me, right?
Mm.
Because of the graphic, because of the way it plays, because the way the menu is done. Um, Sometimes it's also kind of frustrating because you've been told by so many people that this is exactly what you're looking for, but yet you get into trying to play it, and then you're like, I can't immerse myself into it. I can't play it again. It's not. I don't like it. Right? Isn't it weird?
It is weird.
I have a question.
Go on.
See, it's a podcast. We can both ask questions. Can't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's not even in your list.
I love it. Even
What is
more.
the game that you even better? What is the game that you played and you felt real disappointed or feel that it was unfinished and get that kind of frustrated you?
Oh,
Well, that's a hard one, isn't it?
that is a hard one. Are we talking last year or any time at all?
Anytime.
That is a good question. I know there is one. There's more than one. There's a few. Do you know one for yourself?
Oh yeah.
You go ahead.
Why do you think I asked the question?
You go ahead whilst I was just trying to recollect which game ticked that box for me.
Well, I have to say it was Star Citizen. Because I did put the money to buy a ship and everything. I put the $200.
Good shout.
And the thing is, I played the game, but I really, really was extremely disappointed. The fact that the city was way too big. Like, did you ever play Star Citizen?
I think I played it once briefly on a weekend, but I was away somewhere and I only got back in time to put like a couple of hours in. So I have technically, but not to any point where I would say I know very much about it.
Because you can get lost in the city. If you don't know your way around, you're lost. You're completely lost. And I feel that they should have done way more simulator game into it. What I'm talking about is sometimes you have big ship that could go the game is actually really well rigged that could have like a big ship that's coming and say, I want to do a delivery. And then you have little people that are actually player that could go ahead and use smaller ship to fill that ship and cargo and so on. That got me extremely frustrated. And also the fact that you can't build your own ship, and there was so much more. And there was when they actually advertised, it's like your ship, you can do whatever, you can paint and blah blah. But at the end, it was really disappointing.
There's a lot of
I
hype.
sometime hop in, take a look, but it's always the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's super technical. That's fine. You can actually macro some keys and everything. It's perfectly fine. But the fact that the city, you get lost all the time because you have to spawn in the city.
Right.
Then you have to find the space station to go ahead and call your ship and then fly out. But to go back in, you have to know where this 500 kilometers by 500 kilometers city, and there's like a 1 kilometer place where your station, the place to land is. And that pissed me off all the time.
Yeah. So there's not enough guidance there, not enough help to get you going.
It's just unnecessarily big. Like the city is like, I understand the fact of, wow, it's a big city, but it's unnecessary. Like you don't have something on every corner.
So there's a lot of dead
Like
space to make it appear bigger than it really is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like you can't buy an apartment, you can't like make a store or anything.
Nothing's interactive. You can't go into most of the buildings.
There is store where you can purchase stuff,
Yeah.
but it's spread around, and like you have a subway where you have to take the subway to one station to the other to buy another thing. Then you take the subway to one station to the other one to buy another thing. It's completely
Too much
I don't
running
know.
around. Too much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for no reason really.
Okay. Well, I had a quick look through my list of games. Bearing in mind I have a couple of thousand now. I couldn't remember the game that perfectly fit for the question that you asked, but I did find one that just about fits. And I'm quite well known for calling out developers who I think are lazy or misguided. one of which would be Dovetail Games. I think the graphics and their skill of creating or recreating lifelike locomotives is second to none. I think they're the best at it. But they call it a simulator, and it just isn't. If you get into a flight sim cockpit, all the buttons and switches work. If you get into a train sim cockpit from Dovetail Games, nothing works, or hardly anything works. Most of it, it's about, say, 50-50 stuff that works and stuff that doesn't work. And that would be fine if this was a new game and they were working on it and progressing over time. But they don't. They just keep recreating this same half-assed approach, kind of, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Should it be called a simulator or a simcade? And that's my issue.
Yeah.
There aren't many train sims out there, to be fair, so they have very little competition. But to call it a simulator, for me, means you need to, with each release, be heading further towards simulation. Not, well, we've got a little bit of simulation, we'll just stop there and churn out as much content as we can. And Farm Sim is another company that does exactly the same thing. There's not enough competition in that arena, so they get away with it. But I mean, I don't know if you ever played Farm Sim, have you?
Farming Simulator?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the only one that I don't have is 2025.
So you haven't got the new one. So I remember, I think 2013 or 15 was the first one I played, and I loved it, but it was crazy. Like, your tractor would flip out and fly 500 feet up in the air, and there are all kinds of crazy things. So the kind of things we were asking for in 17 were better physics, more realistic ground deformation, that kind of thing, like a simulator. And they just didn't deliver on that front. And every time they came out, 2019 I think was the biggest change, and they introduced a train into a farming simulator. How many farmers do you know who has a train?
I know, that was weird.
The thing is, it's an easy win. It's something that they can promote and sell to you, but it's very, they don't have to put much effort into that. And I remember distinctly, one of the developers, whilst doing an interview round about 2017, said, and I quote, excuse me, he said... He
coughed like that?
It coughed exactly like that. And then he said, we could make the most realistic farming simulator in the world, but then nobody would play it. And I can't understand why they have that philosophy when, if you look at the mods that come out every time Farm Sim releases, 99.9% of those mods are to make it more realistic, more simulation-esque. So, yeah. I mean, they're games that I've spent lots of money on, and I've always been disappointed in them because of those reasons.
See, and the other thing that I feel, because you know what, right here is a good example of how you want to have it more realism, or
yeah.
If you spoke English, you know the word I'm looking for. And I am the one more about like strategy and everything. In reality, they should be able to mix both of them. Remember, I already told you about, they should go ahead and make it like when you log in, you can't buy a farm. You start with a farm and make your own money, and that should be from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you can say, hey, you can hire me to be doing that. They should have a farming simulator online kind of deal where you can go ahead and collab with people.
Well, to be fair, in their defense, they do have that implemented now. You can do that.
Yeah.
But the thing...
Okay, but is it...
The simple area where they're just not putting any time or effort into is, let's say, for example, one perfect example is, for years I was requesting Gears, because the Gears mod changed the game totally. because you had to actually think about what gear you were in. You know, if you had one of those fields that was all sort of lumpy and you were coming
Yeah.
up to that lumpy bit round the back, you knew you were going to have to drop down a couple of gears, put it in four-wheel drive. Otherwise, you're not going to get round there. And that
Mhm.
totally transforms the immersion of the game. So they introduced gears, I think, in 25 or 22, I forget now. But they don't work as gears. You could put the tractor in top gear, pick up the heaviest thing, and drive off. That's not gears. That's just a little icon that changes numbers. That's the issue I have. You know,
Yeah.
and that would benefit new players, old players. You know, the immersion and the realism would be increased. But everybody understands the basic logic of, you know, you can't attach a massive piece of machinery to a very small tractor, put it in top gear and
Yeah.
drive off. So you can't call your game a simulator and have that kind of
Yeah.
lazy development in it. I think it's appalling. It shouldn't be allowed.
Definitely. Well, I'll be honest with you. I go ahead and put most of my tractors when they go in the field, just go ahead and do H, because I'm a person that's trying to, trying to get as much money as possible to be done. So I'm not really concerned about the gears and everything, but they should have a match between the two of them, because if you implemented it, you're also going to be able to disable it for a person saying, well, I don't want to do that, so let's go ahead and do it this way, right?
Yeah,
So that should be also something possible.
automatic gears and manual gears.
Exactly.
It's like how many
Did you get
racing sims have done that? You know,
Exactly.
all
Did
of
you
them.
get the thing for simulator to do that? Like the joystick, did you get it?
Oh god, yeah. I've got quite a few.
How see? How would they have this without having gears is my other question.
What?
Because your joystick where you have your steering wheel and you have the joystick for your farming sim
Yeah.
is also has gear information on it on your joystick, isn't it?
Depends which one you get. I think the Hori one might. All that is a reflection of what number you're on. The fact is, the physics in the game are very basic, and they have always been basic. And every time a new farm sim comes out, and you watch and listen to people saying, "Oh, I really hope they do this in the next one," it's all about physics and realism for every single one.
Definitely.
I mean, why are we still in a state where you can't move cows or sheep from one field to another? They can't have babies. You can't breed them. Why are we still in that stage?
Exactly.
And now they've diversified. They've released a racing sim, which has not gone down well, because for a company who refuses to implement simulation physics into their farming sim, just think they can rock up and play driving games with all these really good driving sims out there that do all this stuff really well. It's madness. Total. This is why I want to get into the arena. I want to start releasing my own sim games, because I will not compromise on realism. If it's like that in real life, I will find a way to recreate it on the sim. And I think that's important. That's what a sim should be.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, definitely is.
So other than the potential of, and we'll wrap up on this question, I think, other than the potential of a soon to be coming kart simulator for your very bespoke needs,
Yes.
what does genuinely excite you about the future of gaming? Because we've been a little bit negative, a little bit positive, but in terms of, let's say, the next 5 years, what excites you about gaming? Where do you think it could go?
I think right now that I don't know if you noticed, but I've seen more collaboration in game. What I mean by that, like when I'm seeing the other game that I'm playing lately is Alchemy Factory, you can play with other people. Now you can actually go ahead, and I think maybe I'm crazy, or maybe it's into what I'm seeing lately, but I feel that we are having more multiplayer game where you can actually collab or coexist in the same environment. we were playing about Farming Simulator. I don't have it to 2025, but I feel that we should have like servers that's going to be online and say, well, I'm allowed to buy all those fields or one or two fields, and then I can sell them. Let's say that I have like 25 field because I don't know, I'm a jerk and I just want to get all the field, but I feel we should have a collaboration with other players and say, well, those two field I can sell it for like cheap for new players who are coming in, right? Um, because lately I noticed a lot of people going from the FPS and competitive shooting game, leaving it because there's too many um there's too much competition that are actually not sane, and they're going to simulator game or really more structural game.
Yeah.
So I think the collaboration with others is actually something that is getting huge.
Yeah. So rather than fighting against each other, working together towards a common
Mhm.
goal, that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, I've been, well, in fact, both of us have spoken in quite some detail over the last couple of weeks or years or whatever about AI. And AI, I think, is probably the most exciting thing for me. Now, a lot of people have mixed feelings about AI and the progression of it and whatnot, the potential jobs that are going to be lost. I can tell you now, AI is not at the point where it's going to take people's jobs. It's a bit like an overexcited 5-year-old with crayons.
Mhm.
You really need to be on top of it all the time, or it will send you.
Mhm.
Like GPS when it first came out, and it was sending people all over the world. It's a little bit like
Yeah.
that at the moment. It's not very reliable, but there are areas where I think AI for NPCs, let's say, could be phenomenal. Let's say a flight simulator with proper ATC, or a
Mhm.
bus simulator where everybody who gets on the bus looks different, sounds different, speaks different, just comes up with random things that they say. There was a great character once in Bus Sim 16, I think it was. A drunk guy would get on your bus and he'd be absolutely hammered, and you could either give him the correct change or just totally rip him off. Now, I think somebody must have complained because they took that character away. But that's the kind of, I mean, that's in a
Yeah.
long day's driving, a little bit of humor with one of your customers, totally out of nowhere, can really brighten a day. And it could, in terms of immersion and fun, I think, yeah, potentially
And
AI.
in reality, I think you put a good point because in reality, there's a lot of stuff. Life is fast right now. You have to,
Oh yeah,
everybody wants to get everything done quickly and don't have to put the effort into it. AI is actually there to be able to probably to help them to go ahead and write that script, saying, "Well, I want this kind of personality for this person.
yeah,
Let me go ahead and write the script for that and put it into that character." It's like, let's give it a shot and give it a test. Like on my channel, I do some half AI and half me. You saw me work. I work a lot on Photoshop,
yeah,
but I just use the basic of the image because that's what I want to see. That's what I want to make the person feel because that's what I want to do. I'm not, and this is something also that AI is actually good for. It's telling us to say, well, this is like the quality of this game is not as high as what you're trying to get. So that's why using an AI image is going to help me, right? Not because I'm trying to get clickbait. It's really because for me, when I'm making a thumbnail, it's because it's something that I'm proud of. It's the same thing as when you create a thumbnail or creating a picture when you're a kid, like, look, this is pretty. And you put it in a fridge kind of situation, right?
your
But yeah,
thumbnails, I must
that
say, are absolutely stunning. They're really high
thank
quality. Yeah, every
I'm
single one of
working.
them. Really impressive.
And usually I just get like the background image, sometimes even just a part that I'm going to put in front. And then I go ahead and color around and change the color, put some shadows and everything. But yeah, but as you said, it's not perfect. If I ask them to do a thumbnail, they're gonna give me some weird random stuff. I saw a foot one point saying "take this," and I was like, "This is mining Mogul. Why would you put a foot? I don't understand." But yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I've had many situations like that. I also, it's just popped into my head now. There's a potential that AI could help. Now, obviously, some people are going to exploit AI being able to write code and create games very quickly, and
Mhm.
they're going to release a lot of crap, basically. But small indie developers who just cannot get a foothold because of the big companies just dominating in terms of advertising space, and just, you know, the allegiance that these, especially youngsters, have towards these games is unbelievable. AI
Yeah.
could take a one-man band and make them feel like a 10-man band, potentially.
Mhm.
That could really help indie development. And I think the more genuine gamers who can get decent quality games released, the better. So if AI can help in that regard, I think bring it on. I'd love to
It's
see
giving
more of it.
it's giving also the opportunity. Do you know Kevin Smith?
Not by name.
He made movies like Dogma, The Clerk, and everything, and he does a lot of Q&A, question and answer.
Okay.
And one of the things that actually he said, and I was in Florida when he was actually in the Q&A, and I thought it was marvelous. He's like, right now in today's world, you can actually make a movie with your phone,
Yeah.
edit it with your phone, upload it, and get 1 million views. Because right now, you have to understand that everybody's movie is somebody's favorite movie. And that's what a lot of people are kind of misunderstanding this. And he was talking about AI lately and said, like, AI is great, gives opportunity to other people, maybe just get out of the closet.
Yeah.
Because we're all virgin of something. Like you said, you want to go ahead and dev. Maybe AI is going to help you and say, you know what? Here's what we're going to be doing together. There's a lot of stuff you're not going to take because, as you said, AI is not there. You can't. And most of the people that are really upset about AI don't understand how to use AI. Right?
Yeah.
AI is not like me sitting and say, "Do the best thumbnail ever. Have a good day." Then leaving. You have to go ahead and work on it. I want a
Yeah.
vision of this, and that, and that. Sometimes it takes even more time
Yeah.
to use AI than
It's a
doing
real
the right
discipline.
work. It's crazy. I spend sometimes 4 to 5 hours on a thumbnail, try to get the exact image of what I want, and then put the text on it. I'm only putting the text and the image and my face and everything on it. However, if I don't have the perfect background that I want, I don't want it. So AI is not able all the time to give me that.
No. Sometimes I've
So
had to
that's
give
where it's
up.
a little bit more.
Sometimes AI just cannot, for whatever reason, formulate, and it probably comes, the argument would be that I'm not wording it correctly. But, having done this for quite a long time now, I'm pretty good at it. 99% of the time, I can get it where I want it, just about. But sometimes, one perfect example, I wanted the AI to produce a background image of a war scene. And in the foreground, I just wanted someone sort of running, screaming, running away from the gunfight that was going on behind it. And we'd done a lot of to in and fro in, and it basically read back, "This is what you want. From what you said, this is what I understand that you want to see." And I'm like, that's exactly it. Now produce it. And it drew a picture of some flowers on a table. Sometimes it
What kind
just
of war is that?
woo, and off it goes. That's where we are now with AI, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential there. I don't know what we're going to discuss in the next podcast, but I think future discussions on AI might be a relevant subject.
Yeah.
If you guys watching have any subject ideas of your own, we'd love to hear from you. And in time, once we got this a bit more polished and a bit more, we're a bit more used to it, and the quality of the whole podcast has improved a bit, we'll definitely have people coming on. You don't have to be a massive YouTuber. You could just be starting out. It'd be interesting to hear from all sorts of different people on all different subjects, etc. But yeah, it's been really nice talking to you. I've learned a lot
been
more
amazing.
about you today.
You did, and I learned more about you too.
Wonderful. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Thank you so much for supporting me with this very first podcast. Hopefully you'll be here long term.
Yes.
And we'll do our best to make this something really rather special for you guys out there as well. So on that note, I'm gonna call it a day, put an end to the first ever SimShack podcast. And thank you all, gracious viewers and participants, for your for being here.
So long, everybody.
Take care. Goodbye for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Welcome to the Sim Shack, let the journey begin. Two old souls on a quest where the pixels spin. Sim UK with his charm and Wallsy's deep voice. We dive into gaming, it's our favorite choice. From
Ready when you are.
Okay. So if we hit a stumble and we fall over or whatever at any point, that's fine. That can be fixed in edit. Just skip that.
Yeah, just raise your when you're making mistakes.
Alright. See how this goes. Hello and
Ready to
welcome.
roll? Ready to roll.
Hands up.
In the world of gaming, we each play a part. Discussion flows freely on immersive sound. AI and audio where new worlds are found. Hardware and controllers, we dig deep inside. Unraveling stories where memories reside. From the joy of a console to
And the other thing that I don't remember my line.
Favorite game, tell us what makes it shine. First game you ever played, let those memories align. In the Sim Shack we'll talk about it all. From gaming's rich past to the future's core. Simulators world, graphics so bright. Join us each week under neon lights. We'll chat with the best creators.
Let me turn that off and we restart it.
In the world of gaming, we each play.
Hello and welcome. I'm Sim UK, and today we're going to attempt to make the first ever Sim Shack podcast. For support, I have with teeth.
That's awesome. Keep those. Keep
Who
those.
put these teeth in? They don't work.
And I glued.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
In the Sim Shack we'll talk about it all. From gaming's rich past to the future's core. Simulators world, graphics so bright. Join us each week under neon lights. We'll chat with the best creators of art. Yeah. In the world of gaming, we each play a part. So tune in with us as we explore and ignite the passion for gaming where futures are bright. From Sim UK's wisdom to Wallsy's sweet tone. In the Sim Shack podcast you'll never be alone. Let's journey together through pixels and dreams. In the world of gaming, it's more than it seems.